Welcome to Queers and Quills, the official podcast. I'm audiobook narrator Kirt Graves. Every episode, I invite an attending author or narrator to join me for a one-on-one conversation about their lives and their art, so attendees and readers from across the world can get to know them not only as professionals, but as people. Joining me today is Layla Reyne. Layla Reyne is the author of What We May Be and the Agents Irish and Whiskey, Fog City, and Soul to Find series. She writes sexy, intense LGBTQIA+ romance featuring competent adults in kitchens, sports arenas, car chases, and other high-stakes situations. Welcome to the podcast, Layla.
Thank you.
Layla. Geez, I go and screw up the name right at the end there. So I'll leave it in so people know that I do get that wrong sometimes.
It's
even
okay.
with the script in front of me, sometimes you read things wrong. So thank you so much for joining me. I would love to start by just hearing your author origin story.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited for the conference. Be hopping on a plane here shortly.
So close. I know. For listeners at home, we are recording this a week before I'm traveling for the conference.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm traveling on Thursday. It's the Thursday before. So yeah. It's so close.
I can't wait. I'm on the East Coast and I'm ready to go to the land of not so hot and less humidity.
Yeah.
So I'm good. So I come to writing from fan fiction, actually. So I wrote as a kid some stuff. I really come from TV land, big TV movie fan, right? And so that led me into fan fiction, right? First stuff I wrote was X-Files fan fiction.
Awesome.
Read it, wrote it. And then, my day job career kind of took me off the creative path for a while. And about 10 years later, I came back writing fan fiction again, that time for the Vampire Diaries and other little bits of stuff, pretty much everything that was on the CW back in the day. Mm-hmm. And eventually got to the point I kind of wanted to tell my own stories, was a little bound in by the canon, so to speak, of the stories we were with. And then that's how I started writing my own fiction and romance.
Awesome. What was that first story you started writing that wasn't fanfic, and did it ever see the light of day?
It did.
Yeah.
It has an interesting story. So that was What We May Be. And
wow,
it was the first one I wrote. It got pitched. So I'm hybrid published, but just doing self-publishing now. But that one got pitched, did not get picked up. My single malt ended up being the second one I wrote, and that's what got picked up. Mm-hmm. And that's book one of Agents Irish and Whiskey. And then lo and behold, so that was 2017, when Irish and Whiskey was first published. And then, 2021, I think it was when I published What We May Be in a different somewhat format, right? It went from being a book that was going to be pitched to TradPub that was we're talking 2014, 2015, right? So Love Triangle, a lot of those, there was a lot of things in there that as I then kind of grew into myself as an author was not my brand, not what I wanted to do. And there'd always been the niggling in the back of my head that, Sean and Trevor kind of like, there's vibes there too. There's our vibes there too. Right. And everyone who beta read it was like, there are vibes there too. And so it went from being a love triangle to a poly romance, which is how we wish they all, right? Resolved. Right. And so, I was at that point comfortable writing that, had read more in that genre, and it was just like, no, this is where this is supposed to be. And found a perfect cover photo for it. And that was the point at which when I saw the photo and bought the photo, it's like, well, this story's going to come to life now, finally.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was great that it's a special, special book for me because it was the first one to finally be in the form that it was always meant to be. And out there. It was great with a hot cover. So what a
wonderful journey for your first book to take. I imagine that then when you went back and reread it and found that new chemistry between those two characters, that meant like a fairly significant part of it was rewritten.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of the pushback that we had gotten from agents too, or from publishers, was that the heroine was too strong. Like she was too alpha, and she is the alpha of the story, right? And as my author brand evolved, there's always an alpha woman in control. Like Mel runs the
Okay,
whole
I was gonna say,
universe.
listeners who aren't watching on YouTube did not see my face when you said the lady was too strong.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't. What?
Yeah. Like she was the thing that the publishers did not like. And I'm like, and that then is hilarious because that's pretty much, she's right in line with all the women that I write.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of rule the world. Even in stories that are gay romance, like that's like Mel runs that world in the whiskey verse, and
Mm-hmm.
Helena, who is the Madigan sister, is the most fearsome of them all. And Charlie is the alpha in that poly romance. And so it was great. Again, to your point of where that story ended up was exactly in line with where it was supposed to be for me.
That's very cool. I love that. I love that. Tell me a little bit more about the Agents Irish and Whiskey series. Let's go through your series just so we get a little more of the flavor of each one.
Yeah, so Agents Irish and Whiskey is romantic suspense. It is partners to lovers. For the Aiden and Jamie books, they are, Aiden is a widower who's back on the job, and Jamie is his attractive younger new partner. And they, Aiden's grumpy, Jamie's kind of sunshine, right? And Aiden is also Irish, Jamie's very Southern. So
Mm,
it's a lot of fun to listen to for the accents as well for
nice.
audiobook people. So they are the same couple all the way through. I typically write continuation, multiple books with the same character. And they got a new story actually last year called Angel Share, which circled back to them and kind of took them into a new point in their life. And then in the middle of their story is Mel and Danny. Danny is Aiden's younger brother. And so
Uh-huh.
and Mel and Aiden are best friends. So it's a best friend's little brother romance set around the holiday. It is an homage to Die Hard, which is one of my favorite movies, and it is a Christmas movie. And I was going to write a book that was a Christmas book, but I don't do like traditional Christmas books. So you get some, you know, people taking over a ship and helicopters and all kinds of fun things.
Nice. Nice. So then what about Fog City and the Soul to Find series?
Yeah. So Fog City is me getting very tired of writing FBI agents within the rules. And so
Oh.
I decided I wanted to write assassins who had their own rules, but I didn't have to look at the FBI org chart every day, all
Mm.
day. Um, and even though I won't spoil it, there's still some of that involved, but it's romantic suspense again. And it is a trio of siblings who are kind of the heir apparents to a assassin mafia like organization, but they have a code, right? They're only assassinate people who have done wrong. So the first three books is Hall's story, and he's the prince, the heir apparent.
Mhm.
And that's a gay romance. Then Cecilia's story is a sapphic romance between opposites attract. You know, like I said, she's kind of the ice queen sort of character, and her love interest is sort of the heart, the warm mother, single mother mechanic, really kind of the heart of the whole series.
Mm.
That kind of, she is taking care of everybody. She is, like I said, she's the warmth that they kind of all need. And then the last one, which is Silent Night, is the younger twin. So Hall's and his twin, but it's his twin, Holt, and his best friend, who has pined for him for 14 years. And
Wow.
so it's a whole lot of pining. And it was the book that brought me out of burnout because the pandemic. And I really needed to do something different. And so I fell back on my fanfic roots. When I wrote fanfic, I did a lot of vignette kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
very short clips, a snapshot of life for the characters. And so the whole first half of that book is them snapshots of them getting up to present time. Some of it's epistolary,
Oh,
some of it,
cool.
they're just little scenes, like when they meet the important moments that they went through. And so I needed that. I needed to do something different. And kind of once I got that rolling, then the second half of the story came, which is more the present day plot of the story.
The plotty plot.
Plot.
Nice.
I'm a plot person usually. But I needed something like trying to do that mental exercise was a little too much coming out of burnout.
Sure.
And so the vignettes worked really great.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you talk about switching from MM to poly to sapphic. How has that been for you? What's the experience? Do readers follow you? Do you get some pushback?
I am the rare case, it sounds like, who's gotten no pushback.
Wow.
I think because I had always branded myself as just a journal and field romance or queer romance.
Mm-hmm.
I never branded as MM. I also wrote those strong women, right?
Mm.
And made them compelling, and that you wanted Mel's story and you wanted Helena's story. You want Jack's story. That's my non-binary character from Fog City. And so I think doing that, not surprising the readers, like this is clearly where it was going, helped minimize any of that pushback. So
That's very interesting.
yeah, I'm also wide. And so I don't know if maybe that helps to some extent. So
what do you mean when you say wide?
wide author. I publish wide, not just Amazon, not in KU. So to some extent, I think that does reach more readership. And I think that for instance, sapphic readers are used to, for instance, indie presses, like smaller presses that are typically published wide.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. I don't think we got to the Soul to Find series, so I want to talk about that too.
Yeah. There's one other series in the Whiskeyverse that I don't think is in that list, called Perfect Play. And it
First of all, I love that it's the Whiskeyverse.
Yeah. So that's it. I'm a whiskey girl, but it's also A Desire for Whiskey, and it kind of all revolves around that group.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the Whiskeyverse. Perfect Play is another one of those ideas that kind of got born out of the pandemic. There had been these cards going around on social media about what house are you in based on tropes, right?
Oh,
I don't
sure.
know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And there was one that I had every single house except this one, and that was Marriage of Convenience.
Oh.
So I was like, how do I do Marriage of Convenience? Like, do it and make it Layla. And so these are two FBI agents who are after the same enemy, and the way they do it and the way they get to it is by entering into a marriage of convenience, because one's kind of been booted off the case and he's trying to get back onto the case. And this is how he stays involved. And it was a lot of fun to write. They're older, mature characters. Most of my characters are 30 and up, and some even older. In this case, they were 38, and he's a single dad. And the other character is 42, 45, something like that. And so they'd been through life. And what I loved about them was that they talked, they used their words. There was no miscommunication. There wasn't time for it. Right. And so it was lovely. Yeah. I mean, one, there's a lot of action and FBI stuff going on, but there's also a 14-year-old kid they're trying to deal with that they could not, skirt around. So I loved writing their series. They were very easy to write. And so, yeah, so that's the other Whiskeyverse series.
Cool. So did we talk about Soul to Find? Did I miss?
No. So
did I skip over that in my
no.
in my haze?
That's not Whiskeyverse. That's paranormal.
Okay.
I decided I just wanted to try something different. And really fun, because what I did was it's still on brand, so to speak, in that it's romantic suspense. It's just set in a paranormal setting. And it's actually an alt version of San Francisco, which we lived in the Bay Area for about 15 years.
Okay.
So it is if you took the Loma Prieta earthquake in 89 and made it a magical event and everything that follows.
Oh, cool.
So it's nature and chaos at war. The rift being Loma Prieta, and the last time they really came to huge blows, so to speak, and everything that follows. And in the first book, this one does have different couples, but an overarching big bad, right, that you're kind of building to. And the first book, Icarus and the Devil, is a vampire courtesan who's very sassy. Like, it was hilarious because they're split in half, the books. And I wrote Icarus in maybe his half in maybe 30 days, which for me is pretty fast because he was that mouthy and that loud.
Wow.
And then I had to write the second half of Adam, and it just came to a screeching halt.
Do I really need to write both halves? Could I just release the one?
It's like, I was just like, oh, can you talk? And he doesn't talk. And so it was really funny because he's a quiet guy, and he was quiet in my head too. And then book 2 is Paris and the Reaper, and that is a cold case detective and a human medium. And the cold case detective is a raven shifter. So that was the cover that I bought first. I actually have those. And that was part of the reason I wrote the series, because I love this cover so much. And
Beautiful.
I wanted to use it
Very
for those
cool.
of you that can see it. And then that's the Icarus cover, which kind of leads you to understand what maybe Adam is.
Right.
And then the last book comes out June, but I will have a limited number of these at my table, which is Atlas and the Traitor. So that's book 3.
Exclusive access, guys.
Exclusive early access. And it's a warlock and a coyote shifter. It's enemies to lovers.
Okay.
Because I have failed every other time I attempted to write this. They don't stay enemies long enough. They don't stay mad. I was like, I'm actually going to do this.
I just want everybody to get along.
I was like, no. We're going to keep this snark, because they were so snarky and so at each other's throat for the first 2 books. I was like, I think I can manage this. So, and I'm happy where it turned out.
Nice.
So they're snarking right till the end. So
I love that. I love that there is a variety both for you and for your audience.
Yeah, there's a little contemporary romance in there. I have a series called Table for Two, which is all food and hospitality people, typically older, again, 30 plus, with characters all the way up to 60. That I'm a big foodie person. And so they're my palate cleanser, right? When I can't write the plotty plot. I need a break. I write a little novella about food, and it makes me happy.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that you have a focus on older adults, because so much of romance is centered in 20s, maybe early 30s, but oftentimes then they're described as the old guy.
Yeah.
The older one.
No,
he's older, 34.
People
Jesus
are still
Christ.
sexy, thanks.
Yes. Sexier, some might argue.
I mean, we use our words, and right, there's different conflicts, right? And it's stuff I can talk about. I can't talk in 20-year-old. I don't have kids, and I really can't talk in 20-year-old. So I'm not going to try.
It's true, because our version of 20-year-old is a totally different language than today's 20-year-olds.
Give me grunge. Thanks.
Yeah. And your focus on queer characters, where did that come from?
I think, part of that is that fan fiction background, seeing it in the fan fiction community, and it always having been accepted there.
Yeah.
And it being welcomed. And then not as much when I first started publishing, but seeing it come along and seeing more and more representation, which is fantastic, right? Like, I see more and more sapphic romance, more and more people who are making that jump and starting to write those stories. And it's great. Like, we need all the representation, because particularly in our current time, more and more of that's being silenced, quelched, and we can't do that. You learn things about yourself, about others, about compassion and empathy. And we need more of that.
Have you seen or felt that shift yourself from something that was very counterculture to something that's really finding its place in pop culture? Have you, like, how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's for all the Mulder Krychek vibes that were out there in X-Files days. You never saw it, right? And you couldn't
Yeah.
dream of seeing it, right? And now there are queer characters in TV shows and in movies. Like you watch Wheel of Time, for instance, and it is so queer and it's lovely, right? To see that, and some of that was in book form, but not on screen. And I think that's where we're starting to see more of it.
Yeah. Or things that were
Which is great.
hinted at are becoming
Yep.
really a part of the adaptations that are happening today. Like they're making it explicit. Yeah.
Yep. And in books of it being on bestseller list and, you know, being on the shelves and things like that, you know, and hopefully we can maintain that. We've got to fight for it, obviously. But it's great to see that.
Yeah. Do you have any influences or inspirations nowadays that really inform your writing?
Oh, I wish I got more time to
I was going to say, I
read
can't imagine
and
you have time to like read and watch TV when you're working and then working a whole second job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be bad and check on my phone and kind of think, so for the paranormal stuff, Haley Turner, who's going to be at this conference, like I think she does a great job as well of mixing paranormal and the lore and the action as well. Right. And then probably I'm trying to look back through things that I have read. You know, Mary Calmay with the banter, like trying to, I have to stop and think and make my characters breathe, because if it was up to me, it would be go, go, go.
Right.
And so I think I draw inspiration from her and others who do a very good job in romantic suspense. Minika Walker, for instance, as well, of letting the characters have a moment to breathe and those romantic moments come through. Again, I was raised on TV and Bond movies and things like that. And so, you know, and TV in a 42-second medium, there's not a lot of time to do that. So I think those are some inspirations. Oh, and Garrett Lee, like particularly the Rebel King series, is masterful. Right.
It's come up several times in the course of this podcast and my other podcast.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the best things I have read recently. And can even, you know, 32 books in, draw inspiration from still.
That's very cool. That's very cool. If somebody's coming to your work for the very first time, and I know this is a difficult question, I know it is, but if you could only pick like one or two books that you're like, this is a really good representation of who I am, and so it would be good for you to start here, what would you point people to?
So I would probably point them. I like Prince of Killers, which is the Fog City start.
Okay.
Because
I mean, I'm glad you like it.
No, I love it. Right. It sits a little in the middle, right? And has a little bit of, you know, the not law enforcement angle, right? That the other FBI books, but then that comes in. So you see a little bit of that. You see a wide representation of characters. Again, you've got gay characters, pan, bi, sapph, you know, lesbian, everything's in there. So, and non-binary, demi. And so it's a great kind of broad representation in that series as well. And it is the same, like, it is my homage to San Francisco too, right? Like there's a lot of favorite places in that book. The noir feeling, like I remember the first time I went to work, you know, and worked a night and saw the bridge lit up, the Bay Bridge, which I think is actually more impressive than the other one. And kind of to see that and feel the energy of that city and kind of the magic of it. And so that Fog City is set there and is a tribute and that dark noir kind of thing that I like about it all. So I'd say that. And then on the foodie side, Dine With Me, which was also sort of, that is the book of my heart. It is angsty. And so I'll say that, like, there are maybe two books of mine that would count as not angsty.
Okay.
And that is probably the far, far end of being angsty. So fair warning for anyone listening. But it's a chef and a doctor on a foodie road trip. And I've been to all the places that are in it. And so...
Wow. Do you have to make up like restaurants that mimic things you've actually been to, or you just call them out?
I use the real ones.
Nice.
In that story. And it's as much about my love for those places, and food and everything that goes into dining to hospitality, and the experience, and all of my gratitude for restaurants and the industry that has been very good to us. So, and it's fun, it's emotional, and it's got like favorite songs, food, everything in it. So
Nice.
yeah.
I am of the opinion that everybody should work in food service for at least a little while when they're young,
Yeah.
because never will you have better training for dealing with human beings than that environment. I mean, customer service environments in general, but there's something about food service that brings out the worst in people.
For real. For real.
Well, I have also invited you here to play a game. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
Nice. So the rules of our game are simple. I have a deck of cards, and on each card is a question. The questions aim to learn more about you as a person. So some are biographical, some are hypothetical, some are just silly. But I will not be picking which questions you're going to answer.
Okay.
Fate is. So I'm going to deal 3 cards every round. You choose one. Whatever card you pick, you are agreeing to answer with a couple of caveats. So if a question comes along that you don't want to answer, you have 2 opportunities to switch things up. You can turn the tables on me one time, forcing me to answer the question, or you can also discard a personal question in favor of answering a more bookish question from our white deck, but then you only get dealt 1 card, and you have to answer that question.
Okay.
Ready to play?
Yeah, if I can remember all that after a day long of work, but let's go.
Here we I sent the instructions in advance.
You did.
All right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3? 3. What's the grossest thing you've ever seen someone do in public? And you said you lived in San Francisco, so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the defecating thing.
Yeah.
So,
that's pretty gross.
pretty much. And not because of someone being unhoused, but like frat boys. So that wasn't even San Francisco. Like,
nice.
Really? Is that necessary?
Great.
So.
Why do any of us like guys? It's really,
I don't know.
it's really a mystery. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
I'll do 3 again. I'm a trilogy girl. Give me 3.
When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, staying true to my roots, probably. And big hair.
2 very excellent things to be remembered for.
Yeah.
All right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
We'll try 1 this time.
Okay. What is something you like that most people don't?
Beets.
Yeah, the cheese is gonna stand alone on that one. Okay. Like,
they're good. If they're fixed correctly,
I was gonna
really
say,
good.
describe the proper way to eat beets, because I'm sure I just don't know it.
Okay, couple different preps that are very good, that we've really enjoyed. You can ash bake them. So you basically coat them in ash and bake them, and it makes a really good texture, taste, everything like that's great. You can also shred them with a box grater and basically make a latke out of them. So you can fry them like that, and it's really good. Put a dollop of creme fraiche on it. And
I was going to say, that would be that'd be like a donut, wouldn't it?
It's like a latke, but but it's a beet. So that's very good. And then a hack is to also cook them in the Instapot. Takes a whole lot less time.
Okay.
So, and if you get the golden ones are sweeter, right? The red ones do taste a little more earthy, or purple taste more earthy. The golden ones are sweeter. You can cook them in the Instapot, and then we, take the skin, peel the skin off, just chop them, creme fraiche and everything, seasoning in a bowl.
Oh.
And they're great.
Okay. Well, you may have converted me. I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I don't mind beet if it's an ingredient in something else, but I haven't made it all the way to just like eating a beet as a dish, Yeah,
I don't know if you're interviewing, if you've already interviewed Vinnie George.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, she's a close friend, and we will go to war about this. She's like, they're the most disgusting things ever. I'm like, I will get you to eat beets one day.
Ooh, I can name a few things more disgusting, but yeah, I think it's just that people don't prepare them in a fashion that is desirable.
Well, no, and I mean, I feel like that was a lot of things growing up. Like Brussels sprouts were disgusting growing
Very
up.
true.
I never wanted to eat them. But you grow up and you learn how to, and it kind of became a foodie culture thing.
Mhm.
But, you know, bacon fixes a lot of stuff.
All right. I was going to say,
It fixes kale,
salt, fat, acid,
Brussels
heat.
sprouts.
Yeah. All right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Do one again.
Let's do 1. All right. Would you ever consider writing to someone in jail as a pen pal?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Everyone deserves a little happiness and pick me up.
Right. I feel like that used to be more of a thing.
I say growing up that was more of a thing. I maybe did that during elementary school or something. So
yeah, like there were programs that I think were meant to make their lives a little bit better, meant to expose you as somebody on the outside to what that life might be like. And now I think we focus a lot on just making sure that those two worlds never meet.
Yep.
And so we can dehumanize the people who are incarcerated.
Yep.
Maybe that's a practice that needs to come back. I'm throwing it out there into the universe. So, all right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Let's do 2 this time since I've not done it yet.
Would you ever pick up a hitchhiker?
No.
Plain and simple.
No.
Oh. All right. I think this is going to have to be our last one. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
Go back to 3.
All right. What will people look back at us 50 years from now and be shocked and appalled by?
Do you want me to answer that?
Maybe just gesture.
In the White House?
Just gesture to everything. Like, take your pick.
Yeah. Take your pick.
Take your pick.
So.
You know what? I'm going to do one more because that's a shitty one to go out on. All right. Card 1, card 2, or card 3?
1.
What are you most excited about right now?
Ooh. Like I said, Portland.
Yes.
I'm a foodie who's been off the West Coast now for 3 years, and I really would like no humidity and good coffee, and some fun, good food, and hanging out with friends that I haven't gotten to see in a long time, and meeting new readers. So, super excited.
All good things to look forward to.
Yeah.
Layla, thank you for taking the time to do this. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for Queers and Quills, the official podcast. If you're already signed up to attend Queers and Quills, make sure to say hello to me and to Layla at the Oregon Convention Center next week. And if you're not, follow Queers and Quills on Instagram to follow along with all the fun this year and get updates about ticket availability in the future. Until next time, I'm Kirt Graves, and I hope you're having a very gay day. Queers and Quills, the official podcast, is produced and hosted by Kirt Graves, in coordination with Mahogany Mail and Marley Valentine. All copyrighted material is shared with permission. Music and sound effects are licensed through Storyblocks Audio. All opinions shared are those of the individuals and do not reflect the positions or policies of any company or organization with which they happen to be associated.